Owen, what would you do? You want to trade a little draft capital for L'Jarius Sneed, who might be available via trade? You would trade a little for T. Higgins, who might be available via trade? Would you trade draft capital for none of the above? Blaine brought up the possibility, we had somebody who brought up the possibility of bringing back some players, and Blaine said, I'd bring back both of the cornerbacks from last year.
Right. I mean, if you had options as one of
at the right amount of money.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially a 1 year, they're out to prove something that they can be starters and, be consistent as starters and not injured. So you just got to take that out with a grain of salt. Or it could be someone like them. It doesn't have to be actually those players because you're in a stopgap year to me where, you even need to have security of Will Levis. Who is that guy to be the backup who has some starting experience in this league? That's kind of the route I would go because I want to think that we are still going to be competing to win games and get into the playoffs. So I need a qualified, bona fide backup quarterback who's good in that position and comfortable there and never, saying I should be the starter and bringing conflict into the locker room. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. You just never know with all these positions. But I think people are going to expect a big bang. And I just don't know if this is the year, based off the players available in free agency, if this is the year you're going to get that big bang, signing. I think this is the year probably to be smart, but you never know. I don't know what to expect from the Titans if they would trade or not. But, I would target Scantling right there. I just see releasing, as Bananas told us.
I went back and looked. He ran a sub 440.
Yeah, he was fast. Yeah, he was fast. I remember his name because I had never really heard of him.
Yeah, he was a fifth-round pick. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he was cooking.
Yeah, so, you see some of those speed guys they're inconsistent with their hands. Mm-hmm. So you can't teach running, but you can teach guys how to, catch better. So I think, you can get him in a 1 year deal, But you also know what you get with NWI, and I'm going to say that about him as much as I thought he was a 3. I know what I get. Mm-hmm. He's a solid dude, consistent, and he actually will play special teams so he can impact them. And I'm talking about from a defense perspective, not just as an offensive guy, running down on special teams. So he'll go down there and tackle some guys. So I kind of like that value right there for a depth piece automatically. He may have some, he has enough film that maybe somebody signs him to a little bit more just to be their 3. I would be open to any guys like that. Quality human beings, but yet really good players.
For sure. Cheeseburger's a quality human being, and he wants to play this game with us. What's up, Cheeseburger? What do you got, man? 615-737-1045.
What's going on, Blaine and Mickey? How y'all doing today?
Oh, doing great.
Cheeseburger. You got a burger for me?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good too, man. I just want to get your thoughts of how do you think Will Levis will do going to this upcoming season, and also I think the first round in the draft, I think if a top wide receiver's there, Titans should maybe try and trade up and get a wide receiver, or if a offensive lineman is there. I mean, I've heard talks about them maybe getting that lineman from Notre Dame, but I'm just gonna see what y'all think. And also, hey, my birthday's next Thursday. Y'all should do something special for me next Thursday. Hey, if you want, I'll come in studio and sing y'all rap song. Come on, Blaine and Mickey, let's go. Get it, baby. Let's go.
Happy birthday already. Looks like you partying already. Party to tardy.
Yeah, let's go.
Happy birthday, Cheeseburger. Happy. Yeah. I don't know. I take a lot of security clearances. Get my man Cheese in here. I don't know. We'd have to follow up with some important people up the food chain. Here's what you guys are saying about this potential to trade or not to trade. The runaway winner right now is just keep the picks. 60%. 29% T. Higgins. 11% say trade for L'Jarius Sneed. That's where we are, over 100 votes so far early on. You want to vote again at Blaine and Mickey on Twitter. Yeah, when we were discussing the scenario, it's just number 2. Would you just trade the number 2 pick? If they would take only a 2 for those guys. And
second-round pick.
Just a second-round pick. Right. Would you just trade the second-round pick only for those guys? And I felt like I almost talked myself into it. Mm-hmm. But the first time somebody called and mentioned trading for somebody a couple of weeks ago, we were sort of batting this around, and you said, I'm not wasting any picks. I don't want to trade one draft pick because they have so few and they don't have a 3. And then
you want to build through the draft. So if you don't have any picks, I mean, how you going to build through the draft?
It'd be real hard to do that. So then that gets back to I brought up this thing yesterday. I couldn't remember the exact scenario, and I kind of fumbled it a little bit. But there was a podcast that I listened to out of Chicago, and they were talking about the Bears desperately needed a top receiver. The Bears have pick 9. Well, that's one of their picks.
Mm-hmm.
So should the Bears try to trade to the Titans to 7 to get, if there's any of the big 3 receivers left?
Their 9 pick? What?
They're number 9. But if they're worried they're not going to get one of the top 3 receivers, Neighbors, well, they're not going to get to Marvin Harrison Jr.
Mm-mm.
But to get Neighbors or Odunze, do they need to get to number 7? And these podcasters in Chicago said, what if you offered the Titans a 3 to go from 9 to 7? So if you're the Titans, you would drop from 7 to 9, and you get a 3 out of it.
Oh, okay.
There's your 3.
Oh, okay. Who is 8? That's all I need to know. And then you need to know
the Falcons.
We'll know pretty quick what they do with their quarterback situation.
Right.
So, because I think that's where Fields may end up, and that's where he's from, right? Somewhere in Georgia. Remember, he went to Georgia first, and he transferred.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I would do that to pick up a 3rd-round pick, and especially if one of the tackles, or especially if both big-time receivers are gone, which I think they will be. Yeah, I would do it. I would roll the dice, not knowing what they would take at 8, but I would do it to pick up the 3rd. Now I got an extra pick, and I have somebody in mind. If that guy doesn't work, I can't get him the way I want. I got to have my number 2 guy. It doesn't even have to be the same position. That's why I think you should leave it open. Wide receiver, tackle, cornerback, and I'm gonna throw this at you. A flyer and pass rusher.
Can't have enough.
Yeah. But, but they may be off the table, because I would like for him to bring back Autry, but I don't know what Autry may get out on the market. But the age is going to play against him, but his numbers aren't. Because he put up a big number, 11 sacks or whatever it was.
He has a career high. You've got Landry. His knee started to respond by the end of the year. Let's say Danico Autry walks. That's double. His average while he was here was like 9.5 sacks. That's 9.5 sacks a year that walk out the door.
Then you just got
Arden Key, who, Blaine, he's a 5.5 sack guy a year.
Yeah.
That's what he is. Yeah. He's a 40% of the time player. Mm-hmm. If you look at his history, he's best when he plays. His best year was in San Francisco. He played like 40% of the snaps, and he had six sacks or something like that.
There he is.
So another pass rusher?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, my gosh. No, they got to have it.
Yeah, so, but some people would squawk it, where's the priority? I think that's where the tough part comes in. So, yeah, man, either one of those. Because I feel like they can't go wrong even if they have the 7th pick or the 9th pick or wherever they may trade. I still feel like they're in a good position. If they're picking up picks, I think that's the route I'm going.
The only thing that hurts them, and again, these are all just mock drafts. There are so many mock drafts because
I want to say alt, don't they?
Most of them say alt or Fashanu, most all of them. But in most mock drafts, the top, at least 9 of the top 10 guys, or often all the top 10 are offensive guys. So if you're the Titans and you drop to 9, this goes to what you're saying. You could have any defensive player in the whole draft. If that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. And sometimes maybe that's when you say, I think we need to shift gears. I know what we need, but we're going to get the best player. This guy is legit. Now, I don't know who that may be. It could be the Turner kid from Alabama. It could be, the pass rusher there from Penn State, Robinson.
Chop.
So I haven't watched him in depth, but man, that's when you roll the dice. Said I'm going with a no-brainer, and then you come back in the second round and hit him over with all these receivers. You can still get a quality receiver in the second round, and then maybe you feel comfortable enough you get some free agents out there, middle of the road cornerbacks, and then you draft one, bang, with that 3rd pick, or vice versa. Yep.
Suddenly you got a 3, too, that you didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we keep hearing about the wide receiver draft every year? What does everybody say? Oh, it's deep. Oh, no, 7-on-7 is different now. You can get a 3rd-round guy. He can start for it. Oh, okay. You can take the best tackle in the 2nd round and the best receiver available in the 3rd round.
Yeah. I'm wondering, I like your guy, and I really watched a lot of tape of him at the Senior Bowl, but I really like, the more and more I watch him, this guy's a dog, your guy from Bowling Green. You think he'll be there in the 3rd round?
Oh, the yak guy, the wide receiver?
I think it's currently number 11. I saw some more video of him at the Senior Bowl. He was straight arming and just bulldogging guys. And I was like, ooh, I like this guy. I keep coming back to him. I really like him. And he runs with ability with power, let alone I can make you miss too. I think he's the guy. And he's got this way about him, this competitive spirit, always trying to prove something. Want that guy. I like guys like that.
Malachi Corley?
Curly.
Yeah.
Corley, yeah.
Oh, no, he is.
What is he's projected? Will you think he'll be there third round? Like if the draft went that direction, you all of a sudden end up taking a corner and a defensive end, you go, oh, well, we need a.
I will just say this.
Where is he? I have no idea. I was like hoping he'd be there in the third round.
How many times did it happen under John Robinson where we would all like some guy and they get like the second round or the third round or whatever and be like, they're going to get that guy. They're 5 picks away. And then right before.
They get somebody picks him.
The last highest graded receiver, somebody would get him. Whatever we thought the Titans needed, somebody would always get him. Let's see.
And that happens to you in the draft room, right? And you're sitting there going, what was our number? What was our B plan?
Bleacher Report's draft has him ranked as the 91st overall player.
So that'll get you to that's third round.
Right at the third round. Here's Draft Network. Let's see Malachi Corley. And we'll get to the phones. We see you, Tony and Corey. Hold on just a second. We'll get to you. Let's see what their draft projection is for him.
Like the way he runs route. He's right there with the, what's the other kid I love from Florida?
Ricky Pearsall.
Pearsall, yeah. I think they're right. You know, you could take one day, one the other day, but in my mind, I like how they run routes. It's going to fit the NFL.
I mean, but can you
not high profile players, but they're going to be just productive, solid 50 catch guy type players, and then sometimes those guys eventually elevate to a whole nother level once they get into the league because they understand what they need to work on. I'm gonna give a good example is Derek Mason. Derek Mason was just a good solid wide receiver, great returner at that time. But you could tell 1 year he came back from in training camp and you go, this looks different. He went and mastered his craft as a route runner. And that's when I learned, okay, because I would line up against guys and I would go, okay, I don't fear him beating me deep. I'm going to sit on him on routes. He's quick. I need to be patient. Those are things I'm thinking when we're doing one-on-one type of talk, about how do you approach him. And then he came back. He just mastered running routes. And then it set up the deep game. And I go, you don't even have to be a blazer to actually be a deep threat. He played everything off of route running. And so that taught me a good lesson there. Like, okay, so then I had to become a lot more patient when I'm guarding them. Yeah, so that's kind of how it worked. So that's how I come up with my analogies is actually some of my experiences out there because I felt like I was one of the smarter players and I had to be because I didn't have all this superstardom type talent. So me with my work ethic, and then I'm going to have to outsmart you. And I'm not going to live off the athleticism. I'm going to beat you with my brains.
Ricky says in the chat, hey, guys, remember they don't have a third-round pick. No, we're talking about if they were to make that trade with the Bears, 7 for 9. Then you pick 9th. Then you have a third-round pick.
And really not just the Bears. Just any trade back, you could probably snag a
third-round pick.
Do you have to stay in the top 10, though, Mickey? Bananas? That's what I meant to ask Coach Mack the other day, and I had it written down. After the top 10 in most drafts, is that freakish type talent drop a little bit when you get to 11?
Well, we were talking about this. Vikings need a quarterback if Cousins goes. They pick 11. So they would have to try to get up there to get one of the remaining big three quarterback or whoever if it's the fourth quarterback they liked enough, whoever they think that is. 12 is the Broncos. They could need their quarterback. Right.
Phoenix.
13 is the Raiders. They could need a quarterback.
Ooh.
It just depends which direction you're going in the draft. Because if you're going to go defensive, like you've been kind of playing around with this mock, you could probably afford to get down to that 11, 12, 13 range and still get a really high caliber defensive player. But if you're wanting to go one of the top offensive tackles, especially the left tackles, then you're probably out of range right there, and you might as well go after the best player at that point.
Well, honestly, if you were 11, 12, or 13, you could probably take whoever you thought was the best cornerback in the draft.
Exactly.
Dallas Turner might be gone.
Mm-hmm. But he, as he said, the best player at any position, really. If you get stuck there because you have a lot of needs, you just want to kind of prioritize and hope it goes the way you want to. and they haven't got to that point yet. But man, that's going to be an interesting proposition there. I think, I would love that scenario for them. Yeah, and I know everybody's something. I know I said I just like the kid from Penn State better with Fasano. What's his name?
Fashanu.
Yeah, Vashanu. So I just like him a little bit better. They're both going to be good players. It's really hard. You got to get real technical, and you got to really be like in person watching them instead of watching on film. But they're both going to be solid. I just don't, man. You sure want to make sure you're 100% though, man. Woo,
Man.
if you go that route.
Odunze in this draft, though, might be my Vontae Mack, where I write it down on a Post-it note and say Rome Odunze no matter what. That might be
Your receiver.
Problem is, if you trade back, you probably
you're
not
never
getting
going to see him
from
again
it.
until he comes to play you, until
Watch
he
this.
shows up here.
What I can say is I do like him more than Neighbors. Yes.
What?
I do. I don't think I ever said that. Yeah, I do. So the more and more I watch him,
Ooh.
because I'm not watching a lot of the West Coast games. Besides today, more and more I watch him, I think he brings more explosive playmaking ability. I just Neighbors is a great combat catcher. I don't see him. I see him run away from people, but you don't see that explosiveness. It's interesting. Now, both can be productive.
Right.
You know what I think about Neighbors? It's maybe you too. Tim Brown. Tim Brown wasn't fast.
No.
Oh no. He was fast. He was 4'5".
Right.
But he wasn't somebody. I'm not. Oh man, I got to be cautious of getting beat. Route runner perfection. Great comeback. Great run after the catch guy.
Remember what a great return man he was.
That's really how he sold his oats right there in the beginning. Yeah, he was kind of him and Derek Mason. Derek Mason was probably a little bit faster, but yeah. Because
Tim Brown comp, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, because of his ability to run routes, not a burner blazer, but can still beat you deep. But a doomsday man.
And he's full sized, and I can't wait to see how he does in all these. I'm going to be in heaven watching all of this stuff. I think they work out Saturday. Is that right? The receivers?
That's correct.
Yeah, I'm going to be. Now, I won't get to watch it. I have to tape it and watch it after I put my son to bed on Saturday night. But, dude, I'm going to be watching that.
Any receiver you like the most?
A.D. Mitchell. If you trade back, into the first round, or if he's there in that 38. I don't know if he's going to be there 30. I've seen him sneak up into the first round in a couple mock drafts. But the guy out of Texas, A.D. Mitchell, I think.
So you saying for that second round and first round, you would take who?
No, I'm saying if you trade back, if you trade back in the first round, I think you could get him late first round because that's where I've seen him on recent mock drafts go. But if he's available and you take Alt or whatever offensive lineman you want at 7, or say you trade back to 9 and take a defensive player there, you could get 80, and 80 Mitchell's there at 38. Not that he will be, but if he's there, and then you could get a third round. I would be okay with having 80 Mitchell as your wide receiver 1 in this draft that you draft.